guys make it back, then you'll be good. So leaving from the depot, it was told that it was built in 1849, and it's the last two of the East Island Railroad depots still standing with mostly original parts. By the time the depot was built, the city of Ringgold was larger than the neighboring Chattanooga. In 1862, the depot was the last building the general passed on the way north. Out of the wood, low water, Andrew Raiders would abandon the steam engine 2 miles north of the depot, ending the great locomotive chase. Does anybody know about that? Anybody have any idea why there was a chase? I don't know either. I was hoping somebody could tell me. The locomotive, the Catoosa, disappeared through the countryside, tracking them down and bringing them back to the old jail just down the street. During the Civil War, the Ringgold was a hospital town for both of the armies. Thousands wounded, dying soldiers were carried off the train through the depot cargo doors. One soldier was a man named Dexter who stopped here in Ringgold to be treated, ended up falling in love with a young nurse named Sarah. While Dexter was stuck here for treatment, Sarah would sneak him in items such as cigarettes and other candies and stuff for him to have while he was here. Dexter got better and promised to return to get Sarah after the war. She waited and waited for him, but Dexter never came back. Eventually, she figured he wasn't, and she would end up hanging herself, and then the next day he had showed up and ended up killing himself, finding her dead. When we come up to the cotton gin, yes, it was the Callaway Cotton Gin, operated by the Callaway Brothers. It opened in 1929 before expanding to become the Callaway Feed and Seed in 1946. One of our tour leaders can claim photographic evidence of the presence inside the mill. If you look up at the windows where the light is still on, you could sometimes see a little girl standing up there where she had been playing with the boys that were working inside the mill. She ended up getting her hair caught in one of the conveyor belts, and it ended up decapitating her. And they say that there's a shrine up there that celebrates her with her death and the fact that she...
I can't see her.
The Callaway Brothers were only teenagers when they began to work here. And it's common to see that children around the neighborhood still throughout the early 1900s. I did. Do I need the mic? Can you guys hear me in the back?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you get off? On? Oh, the off? Here. Is that better?
No.
I don't know.
You were fine anyway, Jamie.
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
fine.
All right. So then once the children were done in the mill, after working there, she would somehow end up getting caught. And then again, like I said, she was decapitated inside the mill. And then they used to be able to go inside the mill, but inside upstairs to see the shrine, but you can't do that anymore. Okay. And now we're coming up on the Whitman House across the street here.
How long ago was the
It happened in the early 1900s. So the Whitman House was a prominent merchant of Ringgold. It was privately owned and built in 1858 and listed on the National Register as a historical place. Served during the Civil War as one of the headquarters for U.S. Army General William Sherman. During the Battle of Ringgold Gap, Ulysses Grant, after the Battle of Ringgold. When he and his staff all were leaving, they offered Mrs. Whitman $50 in greenbacks, but she refused. She said she would only take Confederate money. General Grant said to
That
Henry
house right
Martin,
there.
she certainly
That
is
house
not
right there.
with yet.
She's
And
talking
his
about.
soldiers cheered as they left. The Whitman family watched parts of the fight around the depot from the upstairs windows. All right, so now we're at the Claiborne Ice House. During the 20s and 30s, back alleys like these were popular for sneaking alcohol into the establishments, reported gunfights, and around Nashville Street. The Dixie Highway System, where the section of Highway 41 connected the north and the south for the first time in the 20s and 30s, allowing bootleggers to drive their vehicles at night and get alcohol made in the south all the way to the northern speakeasies during the Prohibition. Notorious criminals such as Al Capone and others traveled U.S. Highway 41 through Ringgold. It was unusual to find few jars of moonshine being moved up and back the alley. Okay. Coming up on the courthouse. All right. The act of creating Catoosa County authorized the justices of the country's new inferior court to select the county seat and provide for construction of the courthouse and other public buildings. Catoosa County's first courthouse was to be a two-story brick building constructed in 1856. Built with support of local masons, a meeting hall was added on the third floor. The courthouse continued in use until the present courthouse was completed in 1939. The original courthouse was a major hospital in Ringgold during the war. Hundreds of soldiers last stared at its walls and ceilings as their spirits stepped into the old realm. Many still walk the halls and grounds late at night. County employees often are reluctant to go down into the basement or into the less used portions of the building just before dawn or at night because of unexplained paranormal activity. Has anybody been in that building? No. Yes. No? No? Nobody knows if there's Yes. I believe it.
That's the place.
Yeah. That one?
But I've been in that coffee shop.
That courthouse? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay, so this is the courthouse. And the tree here, it says that, yes, the former jail stood in place where the Justice Building is now. It was a large brick home with reinforced walls and windows. The jail could house between 15 and 20 prisoners. And in the tree, there was over 500 men that were hung, or women, I guess, hung in that tree there.
It's seen a lot going on, didn't it?
There is an old adage in Ringgold that if you stayed in prison by day, they built your gallows by night, and you would be hanged first thing in the morning. Executions were a public spectacle in those days to show off effective law enforcement and to act as warning to would-be criminals. People from all over the county would come and set out chairs just to watch and cheer as the criminals were hanged. Sometimes locals couldn't wait for justice to prevail, and mobs would storm the jail, taking the accused out by hanging them upon in a nearby tree, given the lingering fear and anger felt by the prisoners waiting to be executed. Some people speculate that the streetlights in the area that often flutter on and off, unexplained feeling of being watched, and the faint sounds of hammering of the souls of lives unjustly taken strive to reach